Thank you again, Mike, and thanks for the kind comments on the speech. It's my great pleasure to present the annual NCAA Gerald R. Ford Award. The award was created in 2003 to honor an individual who has provided significant leadership as an advocate for intercollegiate athletics on a continuous basis over the course of his or her career. Today's honoree more than exemplifies the requirement. Gerald R. Ford served America as its president during one of the most tumultuous periods of this nation's political history. He was a student athlete at the University of Michigan, where he participated on the national championship football teams in 1932 and 1933. It was there, at one of America's great universities, that he acquired the qualities he would exhibit through a career of public service. Those qualities, integrity, discipline to purpose, and sacrifice for the greater good, served him in a presidency begun in controversy and requiring great strength of character. At a time when confidence in the office of the president and the role of the government was at a low ebb, President Ford healed the nation with a simple declaration that our long national nightmare is over, and so it was. He has been and will continue to be an example of how participation in intercollegiate athletics can shape leaders for critical times. Dr. James Frank, the 2008 recipient of the President's Award, is also an example of how intercollegiate athletics provides educational value to those who participate and shapes them for leadership in critical times. Indeed, James Frank represents the best of what a commitment to the values of athletics in higher education can accomplish. A student athlete himself at Lincoln University of Missouri, Dr. Frank took the lessons he learned in baseball, track and field, and basketball and applied them to a career that included Army lieutenant, basketball coach, college professor, dean of students, academic vice president, college president, and conference commissioner. Fortunately for the NCAA and intercollegiate athletics, Dr. Frank also became actively involved in the association in college sports. At a time when college and university presidents seldom ventured into the world of intercollegiate athletics, he became the first sitting president to also be elected to head the NCAA as president. Indeed, it was his vision for the role of leadership from presidents and chancellors in the governance of college sports that helped develop the first NCAA President's Commission and eventually the Board of Directors and President's Councils. As the first African-American president of the NCAA, Dr. Frank was also a force in creation of Minority Opportunities and Interests Committee that would provide a voice for diversity in the governance of intercollegiate athletics. He also advocated the cause for women's championships within the NCAA, noting that separate but equal does not lead to equality. In 1983, he began what would become a 15-year commitment as commissioner of the Southwestern Athletic Conference and worked to enhance the recognition and role of historically black colleges and universities in intercollegiate athletics and in higher education. In 2006, as part of the association's centennial celebration, Dr. Frank was named to the list of the NCAA's 100 most influential student athletes. For 40 years, Dr. Frank, from co-captain of your basketball team to president of your alumni alma mater to leadership on a national stage, you've demonstrated what pursuit of excellence, both in athletics and beyond, really means. Please join me as we watch this video of Dr. Frank's great career.
Back in the day, back before he was a high school and college student athlete, before he was a college coach, before he had the master's and the PhD, before he was a college president, a conference commissioner, and president of the NCAA, he was just Jim Frank from Aliquippa, Pennsylvania.
We played stickball on the street, football, the same thing. And of course, from those beginnings, went out for the junior high school basketball team, played junior high school baseball, played high school basketball, and I was a football manager. The competition, the camaraderie, the association with your teammates, and the opportunities for travel and so forth, you learn more than what you do on the playing field. You learn lessons of life.
Those lessons have served Dr. James Frank well. As a member of the 1949 Aliquippa High School state basketball champions, Jim did the tough work and still stayed light on his feet. At Lincoln University in Missouri, he was a standout in baseball, track and field, and co-captain of the basketball team. Upon graduation, he spent 2 years in the Army Corps of Engineers and then returned to Lincoln and was head basketball coach for 4 years.
Coaching basketball is a little tough. It works on the heart, so to speak. But while I was coaching and teaching at Lincoln University, my sights were set a bit higher. And I determined that I want to get the final degree, the doctorate degree.
After obtaining his PhD from Springfield College, Dr. James Frank returned to his alma mater, no longer as the basketball coach, but as the school's president. It was in that capacity that he became heavily involved with the NCAA, eventually serving as secretary-treasurer, and then as the association's president, the first African-American and the first college president to serve in that role.
It offered me the opportunity to be a leader, to provide leadership, to shape the programs, to shape the minds of not only students, but to work with faculty members, administrators. It just broadened your horizons. And it offered me the opportunity to make a difference.
The times were changing rapidly for the NCAA in the late 70s and early 80s, and Jim Frank was at the center of it all.
Dr. Frank's legacy, I think, was not being afraid to step out on some very sensitive and critical issues during the early 80s and late 70s. We were going through a difficult time of accepting women in intercollegiate sports. And I think Jim was a strong leader in providing direction for the NCAA, and he pushed very hard for presidential involvement in the NCAA.
I would talk to college presidents. We had the American Council on Education meetings, Land Grant Association meetings and all, and encourage them, say, hey, you need to get involved. So it was my pushing and my, and just the issues themselves and all, got presidents involved, which led to the creation of the President's Commission. And then later on, now it's a board of directors, and essentially the president's called the shot. And then there was the whole fight on television, you know, who's going to control college television and so forth. I was involved in that. Also, Proposition 48. These are the issues that we faced during that time. So as I look back, I was just happy to be involved in those. Wasn't always that pleasant, but but nevertheless, it was a great experience.
In 1983, Dr. Jim Frank was named commissioner of the Southwestern Athletic Conference.
I think one of the major programs was the SWAC championship game that he brought. Jim Frank had been doing it in SWAC before some of the major conferences had brought into existence the various conference championships. He actually saved the SWAC conference and brought it into the 21st century along with all the other major conferences in the country. And to me, I think that's the greatest contribution, and the SWAC conference are still benefiting from Dr. Frank's work that he left as commissioner.
After more than 40 years in sports and in academics, Dr. James Frank continues to speak out on the issues facing NCAA sports.
I go back to perhaps some remarks I made at the last convention over which I presided. And I said at the time that one of the great things about all of this is that sure, there's been a great deal of disagreement. But in the end, I'm optimistic that these contentious issues will abate. We will move on to something else. I feel good about You know what has happened, let's see, 81, 82, 83, over the last 25 years or so.
And he should feel good about what all started back in the day. Dr. James Frank, leadership, perseverance, dedication.